Sean Diddy Combs is now in federal custody following his arrest and an ongoing federal investigation that included a raid of his Southern California home earlier this year. The exact charges and details on the case are not yet being released, but investigators should be releasing new information very soon.
P. Diddy has been arrested within a New York hotel in September of 2024, being due to a federal investigation against him. With the arrest being in relation to a federal trafficking investigation against him, it has come following an onslaught of lawsuits since November of 2023. With P. Diddy being arrested under trafficking and racketeering charges, federal investigators are now cooperating in cases which could extend the charges to attempted murder and murder from cases between 1996 and 1999. P. Diddy has been accused of murder in several different legal cases against him, dating back to 1991. In just public legal cases alone, there have been upward of 13 deaths associated to the mogul. P. Diddy was sued by the former president of his record label Bad Boy, who claimed in the lawsuit that P. Diddy had allegedly been involved in several murders, being in ties to a group which the lawsuit claimed P. Diddy had dubbed as the Enterprise. The $25 million lawsuit filed in a Manhattan federal court contains sworn legal documents by Kirk Burroughs, in which he claims P. Diddy had, quote, set up an enterprise of thuggish associates to gain power, recognition, fame, and financial gain through acts and threats involving murder, mayhem, and extortion. Unquote. Kirk Burroughs in the legal documents claimed that P. Diddy had allegedly been involved in several murders within the music industry, and articles citing the lawsuit extends the allegations into correlating deaths of police officers who had been investigating the crimes. P. Diddy has been involved in several different lawsuits which had gained a federal investigation against him, which he has now been arrested for, with at least one of the lawsuits filed against him in the past, placing 9 cases of wrongful death against him. With 2 of the criminal cases implicating P. Diddy already being looked into by cooperating federal investigators in open murder investigations in order to possibly bring a charge of murder against P. Diddy, we are going to take a look into various lawsuits and legal cases involving P. Diddy which implicate him in murder, which could now be reinvestigated and added to the list of charges. The very first case resulted in upward of 9 wrongful death lawsuits to be filed against P. Diddy, which were eventually settled after a decade of filings. P. Diddy, prior to becoming highly successful, had worked under Uptown Records as a promoter. P. Diddy hosted a charity basketball game with rapper Heavy D on December 28, 1991, which had taken place at the City College of New York in Manhattan. With the event being anticipated to be star-studded with hip-hop acts of the time, more people had attended the event than what the venue could hold. The City College Gymnasium could only hold close to 3,000 people, but over 5,000 people arrived to the event. The crowd of thousands of people had broken a glass door to gain entrance to the gymnasium lobby. This was after the event had been oversold, as those who had bought tickets were refused entry due to overselling. A small staircase which led to the gymnasium where the event was taking place had an issue with the doors, which left the crowd of people stuck within the staircase for 15 minutes with no escape. A crowd crush had then occurred within the staircase, with a crush being labelled as a catastrophic event, which occurs when a place becomes overcrowded with people measuring at 10 people per square meter. This is the equivalent of 10 people placed on a single square meter area, such as a floor tile or concrete slab, then multiplied by the amount included in the crush. The main cause of death during crowd crushes are either people being trampled or crushed by the weight of other people falling on top of them, or people running out of oxygen within the overcrowding. With the crowd crush taking place within a staircase, with an issue occurring with the doors trapping people in place, those who were closest to the doors, being the first to rush into the staircase, had died as a result of the crowd crush. 9 people died in the incident hosted by P. Diddy, with the victims' ages ranging from 17 to 28. P. Diddy's former bodyguard Gene Dill, who had been providing security for the event, had revealed what had happened in a Vlad TV interview. Gene claimed P. Diddy had called him the day before the event to cancel the security for the outside of the venue, which was initially set up with Gene, as P. Diddy had claimed he had found an alternative. Gene revealed when he had arrived at the event there was already major overcrowding outside the venue, and he had told P. Diddy if he didn't allow him to do a box-in-one protocol for crowd control, that people would most likely die. Gene claimed P. Diddy refused him to control the crowd and told him not to worry about about it. P. Diddy told Gene Deal not to worry about the crowd and just to look out for the celebrities who were attending, which included Mike Tyson and LL Cool J. Gene Deal revealed in his Vlad TV interview what had caused the issue with the staircase doors, leading to the crush becoming fatal. Gene claimed P. Diddy's business partner at the time, music promoter Jessica Rosenbaum, had gotten anxious when the overcrowding had started and had taken the money box from the ticket sales with her downstairs, shutting the staircase door behind her, which had only opened from one side. 29 people were injured and 9 had died from the crush within the staircase, which had happened from P. Diddy overselling the event and limiting the outside security, with his partner then closing the door which had blocked the escape route. P. Diddy had been fired from Uptown Records following the incident, and the case had went to court. A New York State judge's decision had found the college and P. Diddy along with Heavy D equally liable for the tragedy, and although no criminal charges were filed, numerous wrongful death lawsuits were placed against P. Diddy. P. Diddy had settled the final lawsuit from the case 9 years later in 2000. In Kirk Burroughs' 2003 lawsuit against P. Diddy, he had claimed that P. Diddy had authorized the 1995 murder of Blood gang member Jake Robles. Kirk Burroughs claimed in the lawsuit that the murder was carried out with the approval and ratification of a criminal group who Kirk Burroughs claimed P. Diddy had dubbed as the Enterprise. P. Diddy had been flown out by Jermaine Dupri to attend his birthday party in Atlanta, taking place on September 23, 1995. The party was taking place in the Platinum House nightclub owned by V. Johnson, who had made a specific VIP section for entertainers. P. Diddy had gone to the party with his bodyguard Anthony Wolf Jones. West Coast record executive Suge Knight, the owner of Death Row Records, had also been attending the party with Jake Robles, a Campanella Park Piru gang member. The Campanella Park Pirus are a blood set from Compton, named after the Roy Campanella Park. A New Yorker called Jason Brown from the Valley in the Bronx, whose father owned a laundromat and knew Wolf and P. Diddy, had also been at the party. Former Bad Boy artist Mark Curry had revealed that Jason Brown was not specifically with P. Diddy at the party, as Jason had been living in Atlanta at the time, but knew P. Diddy from New York. Jake Robles got into an argument with Jason Brown's girlfriend Nicole, who had been from LA, with witnesses reporting Suge Knight as asking her, "Why are you hanging with those New York busters?" There had been photos of Nicole with 112 of P. Diddy's label Bad Boy, as her and Jason Brown would hang out with Wolf. Suge Knight had allegedly slapped Jermaine Dupri during the time of the argument and also put hands on P. Diddy. Security at the club reported Wolf getting on a radio and rounding everybody up to leave the club due to the commotion. Suge Knight, in his prison interview for the 2018 TV show Death Row Chronicles on BET, claimed everyone was then asked to leave the club. Jake Robles had then been shot outside the club at around 4 a.m. and had died while in hospital. Mark Curry claimed it was Jason Brown who had allegedly killed Jake Robles. P. Diddy's bodyguard Wolf had initially been blamed for the murder due to Jermaine Dupri claiming Wolf had carried it out. Deputy C.J. Howard was an off-duty Fulton County Sheriff's deputy who had been working security in the Platinum House nightclub in Atlanta, being on the night of the fatal shooting of Jake Robles. C.J. Howard had identified Southside Compton Crip Orlando Anderson being in a powder blue jacket and Southside Compton Crip Corey Edwards as being with P. Diddy at the party. The off-duty cop claimed he had chased Wolf after believing he had a gun on him, and while pursuing had heard gunshots being let off. The cop claimed to have witnessed Wolf exchanging a gun following the shots. Deputy C.J. Howard had been the person who had phoned the police and had given over his eyewitness testimony to them once they arrived. The 2003 lawsuit by Kirk Burroughs against P. Diddy had claimed that the Atlanta cop who was investigating Wolf for the murder had mysteriously died in a car accident, which P. Diddy had fell under investigation for. Kirk Burroughs in the 2003 lawsuit had claimed that P. Diddy was believed to have hired the hitman that had killed Tupac in 1996. Over 180 court documents released in July of 2024, being from the arrest of Keefe D. Davis, the man charged with the murder of Tupac, mentions P. Diddy's name over 77 times in relation to the murder of Tupac. Claims of Keefe D. associating P. Diddy to the murder of Tupac were first published in a 2011 book called Murder Rap by LAPD detective Greg Kading. Transcripts coming from Keefe D's proffer agreement to a government task force headed by Greg Kading had been published in the book which connected the murder of Tupac to P. Diddy. A 2015 documentary of the same name had published audio of P.Diddy's secretly recorded confession to the task force in 2008. The government task force had been set up to begin a new investigation into the murders of Tupac and Biggie, being following a lawsuit which was filed against the LAPD for $500 million by Biggie's estate. Greg Kading saw P.Diddy as a person of interest, being due to P.Diddy formerly being a shot caller in the Southside Compton Crips, with there being reports of P.Diddy using them as enforcement in the 90s. P.Diddy was set up in a sting operation by the government task force in 2008, which had gave him the option of 25 years in prison or immunity under a proffer agreement to discuss his knowledge of the unsolved crimes. Being secretly recorded, he had gave an in-depth account of his connection into P. Diddy. P.Diddy in an audio mentioned a man's name who was redacted, who had introduced him to a New York hustler called Eric Zip Martin. P.Diddy's 2019 book, Compton Street Legend, had claimed he had met Zip in either 90 or 91, being at an annual baseball game between the Southside Compton Crips and the Santana Block Compton Crips, with the games taking place in South Park in Compton. Keefe in the book claimed Zip was an affiliate of the Santana Block Compton Crips. P.Diddy claimed Zip would play as a pitcher for the Santana Block Compton Crips in the annual baseball games, where wagers of bottles of champagne were put on the games. Compton Street Legend had claimed that the Southside Compton Crips had then become an affiliate of Eric Zip Martin, being through meeting at the baseball games in South Park, and P.Diddy had further alleged in his confession tape that he had then began doing underworld business with Zip, connecting the criminal underworlds of the East and West Coast. Zip had a number of legitimate businesses on the East Coast and was well connected through owning a record label called Black Rock Records and had co-executive produced records with the likes of New York gangster and record executive Jimmy Henchman, along with Aaliyah's uncle Barry Hankerson of Blackground Records. Aaliyah had once been signed to Zip's label Black Rock, and with Zip being within the music industry, also knew P. Diddy, who had been working for Uptown Records in the early 90s, before being fired after the City College tragedy, with him then beginning his own label, Bad Boy. Zip had been close to P. Diddy, and was also the godfather of Biggie's son, with Biggie being an artist under Bad Boy. P.Diddy has put forward two different locations as to where he had met P. Diddy, but his story remains the same in stating it was while P. Diddy was signed to Uptown Records in either 1991 or 92, and it was Zip who had introduced him to P. Diddy. Keefe in his book had told the story that it was at a party hosted in the El Rey Theatre in Los Angeles where they had met, but in his recorded confession he had claimed it was in a club called Paradise 24 in Santa Monica. Keefe in his book claimed following the initial meeting, his relationship with P. Diddy had continued to grow, being through Keefe's connection into the Southside Compton Car Club. The Southside Compton Car Club were a Crip set who had owned an auto shop in Compton with access to 37 cars. Keefe claimed that P. Diddy had reached out to Keefe to rent one of the cars for Usher's 1994 music video Can You Get With It. Keefe elaborated, saying the Southside Compton Car Club had charged P. Diddy $2,400 to use the lowrider for the day, which had been placed on a tow truck to Hollywood and escorted by the Crips. Keefe claimed that Usher had scratched the car while performing with it in the video, and P. Diddy was charged an extra $4,400 for damages. Keefe and the Southside Compton Crips were first invited to one of Biggie's concerts by Zip, being in August of 95. The 1995 Source Awards had taken place on August 3rd, 1995, being in Madison Square Garden in New York. Bad Boy had showcased the event, along with West Coast label Death Row Records. Suge Knight, who is the head of Death Row Records, had been visiting Tupac in prison at the time, in order to assist in his release and get him signed to Death Row. Tupac had been seen in a wheelchair receiving his verdict in 1994, as he had been shot 5 times in a Manhattan recording studio lobby after being set up by Jimmy Henchman. P. Diddy and Biggie were captured by news crews being at the studio at the time, and this had caused a beef between Tupac and P. Diddy and Biggie, as Tupac had felt as if he had been set up. Suge Knight at the 1995 Source Awards, in knowing that Tupac was going to be released from prison and joining Death Row, had not only had a cardboard cutout placed in one of the cells from Death Row's set design, but had also given a shout out to Tupac, then followed up with immediately dissing P. Diddy. Suge Knight had dissed P. Diddy by saying if artists wanted to remain a star and don't have to worry about the executive producer being all in their music videos and on their records, then they should join Death Row. P. Diddy had taken a stage afterwards and addressed the diss, saying the East Coast West Coast narrative has to stop. P.Diddy told authorities in his proffer agreement that P. Diddy had used his set of the Southside Compton Crips to provide enforcement for the very first time, being 10 days after Suge Knight's diss at the Source Awards, while Bad Boy was performing at the KKBT 92.3 Summer Jam within the Irvine Meadows Amphitheatre. Suge Knight had been affiliated with the Compton MOB Pyrus, and P.Diddy had claimed P. Diddy would never refer to him by name and had always called him the big CEO dude. P.Diddy had claimed Zip had called him for P. Diddy to ask the Crips to attend the Summer Jam event, being for protection from Suge Knight's bloods, so P.Diddy had requested for about 40 tickets to bring the Crips. As we have covered this case numerous times in the past on this channel, we're only going to look into the reported times which P. Diddy had allegedly mentioned murdering Tupac. Bad Boy performed in Anaheim in November of 1995, and P. had claimed P. Diddy had once again given the Southside Compton Crips tickets to the show to provide protection. P. in his proffer agreement had claimed that P. Diddy had taken the Crips back to a hotel room party where he allegedly, in a room full of Crips, had claimed he would do anything for those dudes' heads, meaning Tupac and Suge Knight. Biggie's artist Lil C's, while being interviewed by the government task force, identified P. as being backstage at a concert in Anaheim. P. Diddy's former bodyguard Gene Deal had claimed, following the March 1996 Soul Train Music Awards, where a confrontation took place between Death Row Records and Bad Boy, P. Diddy had said he didn't care if Tupac and Biggie had to die or if Suge Knight had to go to jail. P. Diddy had run away from Tupac and Suge Knight at the Soul Train Music Awards, with Tupac describing to his rap group The Outlaws of how they had seen P. Diddy running off into an outside backstage production area when seeing them approaching. Tupac addressed this in his diss record against them called Hit 'Em Up, released in June of 1996, in saying, quote, "Now you tell me who won. I see them, they run," unquote. Tupac also made allegations of getting with Biggie's wife Faith Evans in a track. After the release of Hit 'Em Up in the summer of 1996, P. claimed in his recorded confession that P. Diddy through Zip had allegedly invited him to the Greenblatt's Deli in Los Angeles. P. had claimed Zip and P. Diddy were on a double date, with P. Diddy being set up with a neighborhood girl from the South Side. P. claimed to have gone to the restaurant with some Crips, and him and the Crips had ate together while Zip and P. Diddy had their own table. P. claimed in his book that P. Diddy had allegedly pulled him to one side and said, quote, "I have a couple of problems I need to be handled, big CEO and Pac," unquote. P. in his recorded confession had claimed that it was with this discussion that an alleged $1 million bounty was created and put on the heads of Suge Knight and Tupac. Police reports show that during the time, a rumor was circulating on the streets of Compton, which claimed that P. Diddy was offering a $5,000 reward for Death Row chains. P.'s nephew Orlando Anderson in July of 1996 had attempted to steal the Death Row chain off of Suge Knight affiliate Compton MOB Pyru Trayvon Lane, being within a Foot Locker store in the Lakewood Mall, being believed to have been connected to the rumor of P. Diddy. A specific beef had now begun between the Southside Compton Crips affiliated with P. Diddy and the MOB Compton Pyrus affiliated with Suge Knight. Suge Knight and Tupac, along with the Compton MOB Pyrus, had gone to the MGM Grand in September of 1996 in order to watch a Mike Tyson fight. The Southside Compton Crips were also in Las Vegas to watch the fight, and Trayvon Lane had spotted Orlando Anderson within the MGM Grand lobby and had informed them it was the Crip who messes with P. Diddy who had tried to steal his chain. This led to Tupac and Suge Knight along with the MOB Pyrus to jump Orlando Anderson. P. claimed in his proffer agreement that the Southside Compton Crips had carried out a drive-by on Tupac and Suge Knight following this, with the intention of claiming the $1 million bounty from P. Diddy. P. in his recorded confession had claimed that after returning to Los Angeles following the shooting, Zip had called him and invited him to a hot wings restaurant on Melrose. P. had claimed while there Zip had gotten a call from P. Diddy who had asked, "Was that us?" P. claimed in his secretly recorded confession that he had been told that Zip would be giving them the money for the $1 million bounty. P. in new court documents claimed that P. Diddy had allegedly additionally scheduled a call with the getaway driver Terrence Brown to give more information about the payment. P. Diddy's former bodyguard Gene Deal was claimed in his Vlad TV interview to have seen what he believes was the $1 million check acting as the bounty for the Tupac hit, which he had claimed Jimmy Henchman had given to Zip, for Zip to then give it to the Southside Compton Crips for his affiliation. This information would allude that P. Diddy was used by Jimmy Henchman in order to set up a secondary hit on Tupac following the failed attempt in 1994, through which Tupac believed in his own words was a hit out on his life. P. had claimed while he was in prison for an unrelated matter in 1998. The FBI had interrogated him and told him that they had tracked the check and found out that Zip had used it to buy a nightclub called the Zip Code. The nightclub, being located in New York, was on 2207 Adam Clayton Powell Jr. Boulevard, which is now a vacant church. The nightclub's paper trail could possibly link the murder case of Tupac into P. Diddy and the Southside Compton Crips. Keefe D was arrested in September of 2023 for the murder of Tupac Shakur after he had repeated the claims made in secret in public interviews, being on TV and internet platforms. Keefe D's immunity only applied between himself and the government task force, therefore by repeating the claims publicly he was still able to be charged. The full unedited confession tape was submitted into court as evidence in January of 2024, which implicates P. Diddy in the murder of Tupac. After P. Diddy was arrested in September of 2024, it was reported that federal investigators of his case are now cooperating with investigators of the Keefe D criminal case to see if charges of murder will need to be brought against P. Diddy for Tupac. Biggie had been murdered in a drive-by shooting just 6 months after Tupac. Biggie had been shot in a car traveling behind P. Diddy's, being outside the Peterson Automotive Museum in Los Angeles during the early hours of March 9th, 1997. P. Diddy was responsible for cancelling a trip which Biggie had scheduled in London, resulting in him staying in Los Angeles and being murdered. Biggie was about to leave Bad Boy as P. Diddy had owned his publishing, making huge amounts of money off of Biggie's songs, which is usually allocated to the writers, which in this case would be Biggie. P. Diddy had convinced Biggie to sign over his publishing rights to P. Diddy, being in return for $200,000 when Biggie was struggling financially. P. Diddy had done this for all of Bad Boy artists including 112, Mace, Faith Evans and others, until he had relinquished the rights back to them in 2023. Kirk Burroughs revealed in a 2022 interview with YouTube channel The Art of Dialogue that Bad Boy's distributors Aristar, being through Clive Davis, had set up an international press junket for Biggie's upcoming album Life After Death. Biggie was supposed to board a flight in the early morning of March 8th for a 2-day trip in London to promote the album. P. Diddy, on the night before Biggie was supposed to board the flight to London, had called Kirk Burroughs and told him to cancel Biggie's flight, and to inform Aristar that Biggie wasn't going to make it. DJ Clark Kent, who was with Biggie at the time, had claimed on the YouTube channel Math Hoffa that P. Diddy and D-Rock had set it up for Biggie to be at a vibe party on the night, therefore P. Diddy cancelling his trip to London. P. Diddy had upward of 5 off-duty LAPD officers doing security for him while in Los Angeles. P. Diddy also had his usual bodyguard Gene Deal with him, who was assigned to protect P. Diddy, but had also watched out for Biggie while there, and can be seen in pictures from the vibe party from which Biggie died following, guarding him at their table. P. Diddy's other usual bodyguard, Anthony Wolf Jones, had refused to join P. Diddy on the trip, as he claimed he was making a mistake of going out to Los Angeles 6 months after Tupac was murdered, which was believed to have been connected to P. Diddy. Wolf had told P. Diddy that he wouldn't go unless he could take 2 tour buses full of enforcers. P. Diddy didn't allow him to do the tour bus plan, and therefore Wolf had stayed in New York. P. Diddy's reasoning for having lowered security was budgeting, with Kirk Burroughs revealing that this was tied into Biggie's trip to London. Kirk Burroughs revealed that the Los Angeles trip's budget had ended on the morning of March 8th, being as Biggie was originally scheduled to fly to London, so a new budget had been opened to accommodate the London trip. P. Diddy then cancelled the London trip, and the budget for the Los Angeles trip had already been closed, being due to the pre-planned press tour which was already budgeted for but then cancelled by P. Diddy, which had left the budgeting up in the air by the rescheduling of P. Diddy, as he was being paid to bring Biggie to the party for star power. Due to the budget situation caused by P. Diddy, he had never allocated the larger need for security on the night in question, as due to his rescheduling he claimed they didn't have the budget. P. Diddy not only kept Biggie in Los Angeles by cancelling his trip to London, but also lowered his security due to the consequences of rescheduling, which resulted in Biggie being killed in a drive-by. P. Diddy's profits had then drastically increased due to his publishing rights over Biggie from Biggie's material released after his death. P. Diddy has been blamed for the attempted murder of Natania Reuben, who claimed P. Diddy had shot her in the face in a New York nightclub in 1999. A shootout within a nightclub in Manhattan, New York had occurred on December 27, 1999. It had happened between P. Diddy and Matthew Scott Allen. Natania Reuben, who was shot in the face during the incident, had claimed it was P. Diddy who had shot her. P. Diddy had been with his then-girlfriend Jennifer Lopez and bad boy artist Shine, along with bodyguard Anthony Wolf Jones. P. Diddy had been charged with 4 weapons-related charges and with bribing his driver to claim ownership of his gun. P. Diddy was found not guilty while Shine was convicted and sentenced to 10 years in prison as he had taken the rap for the shooting, but Natania Reuben openly stated it was not Shine but P. Diddy who had carried out the shooting. P. Diddy's former bodyguard Gene Dill claimed in an interview with YouTube channel The Art of Dialogue that P. Diddy had been bribing the jury with $20,000 per person of P. Diddy, Shine and bodyguard Wolf. Gene Dill claimed people were going to P. Diddy's head of security, Paul Buford, who at the time was the right-hand man to the co-kingpin of the criminal group the Black Mafia family, being Terry Flannery. Gene claimed people were being sent to Paul Buford to collect cards to contact the district attorney and make statements against Shine under the approval of P. Diddy to make Shine take the rap and get 10 years. With P. Diddy being arrested in September of 2024, investigators are now considering with reopening the case, being based on a lawsuit against P. Diddy, which made the same accusations of P. Diddy bribing the jury. P. Diddy had a $30 million lawsuit placed against him by producer Lil Rod in February of 2024. Lil Rod had spent a majority of 2022 with P. Diddy while he was producing P. Diddy's Love album. In the lawsuit, Lil Rod had claimed that P. Diddy had bragged about bribing witnesses and jurors in a 1999 case, along with boasting about using Jennifer Lopez to sneak the gun into the club. Natania Reuben had carried out a 2024 interview with YouTube channel The Art of Dialogue, where she had claimed that the Deputy District Attorney of New York had offered her to go into witness protection where she would have to uproot her life, as a confidential informant had told the District Attorney that P. Diddy had placed a bounty on her head for becoming a witness. The District Attorney had also told her that P. Diddy had allegedly also placed a bounty on the head of Matthew Scott Allen. Natania Reuben filed a $130 million lawsuit against P. Diddy, which had been settled for $1.8 million. P. Diddy's bodyguard Anthony Wolf Jones had been in a shootout with the leader of criminal organization BMF, being Big Meech, in 2003, which had resulted in Wolf dying. P. Diddy has long been rumored to have been connected to BMF. BMF was a $500 million drug corporation which had been ran by Big Meech and Southwest T, who were brothers out of Detroit. Celebrity gossip columnist website Lipstick Alley have submissions referring that more than one internal US Department of Justice memos, which quote FBI and DA informants, which claim an alleged connection between P. Diddy and BMF made through Jimmy Henchman, may have allegedly been responsible for getting funding for P. Diddy's label Bad Boy. BMF's third-in-command, who had controlled the New York territory for the organization, was a man called Fleming Daniels, who was associated to Walter King Tut Johnson. King Tut was suspected to be one of the shooters of Tupac in 1994, being hired by Jimmy Henchman. The unverified reports claim Jimmy Henchman, through his association to King Tut, had been rumored to have been connected to BMF member Fleming Daniels in order to get a loan from BMF to Jimmy Henchman. The BMF theory alleges that Jimmy Henchman then allegedly provided the financing to P. Diddy, with it coming from BMF, with P. Diddy then being under extortion by Henchman and associates in order to pay back the debt. Tupac had spoken on this in a 1996 interview with Sway. Keefe D had claimed in his book, Compton Street Legend, that Big Meech had allegedly have been with the Southside Compton Crips when looking for Tupac and Suge Knight to carry out the hit in Las Vegas. YouTube channel Al Prophet looked into the claims that BMF had funded Bad Boy, with the channel claiming it's probably far-fetched as BMF were not as big in the 90s as they had become in the 2000s. P. Diddy's connection into BMF goes deeper than this, as P. Diddy's cousin Daryl Popper Taylor and his former head of security Paul Buford had later been involved in a federal indictment against BMF once they were caught by 2005. DEA documents from the indictment alleged that P. Diddy was possibly being extorted by BMF, with P. Diddy hosting a label launch party in his restaurant in Justin's Eatery in Atlanta, with P. Diddy being pictured with BMF ringleader Big Meech. Big Meech had been in a shootout with Wolf in Atlanta outside a nightclub in 2003. Wolf had been murdered by BMF in self-defense. Big Meech had been shot in the backside, indicating he was turning away when being shot, and therefore had beaten the case in self-defense. P. Diddy's former bodyguard Gene Dill had claimed in an interview with the YouTube channel The Art of Dialogue that P. Diddy had approved having Wolf murdered by BMF due to $300,000 which P. Diddy had owed Wolf. Atlanta prosecutors claim P. Diddy had told Big Meech to do what he had to do, as Wolf had told P. Diddy he was going to show him that BMF weren't all that. Erica Kennedy was a former fashion publicist and had begun her writing career as a special correspondent for the New York Daily News. She was a friend of P. Diddy's ex-girlfriend Kim Porter and was best friends with Kimora Lee Simmons. Publications in December of 2023 claimed Kimora Lee Simmons blamed P. Diddy for covering up Erica Kennedy's young demise. Erica Kennedy was P. Diddy's fashion designer in the early 2000s, proclaiming to have been one of the first people to have gotten him into wearing suits. While acting as his fashion designer, she began to make notes and memoirs documenting P. Diddy's parties, which she claimed were scandal-worthy. P. Diddy was sued by his ex-girlfriend Cassie in November of 2023 under the Adult Survivors Act, which became the catalyst for his arrest in 2024. The lawsuit revealed a term called freak-offs, which was of P. Diddy's creation, which would be held in various locations including hotel rooms, and sometimes entailed the use of masquerade masks to hide the identity of the participants. Lil Rod's lawsuit filed against P. Diddy in February of 2024 had also claimed to have been subjected to a series of disturbing events in 2022, which were labelled as freak-off parties. The lawsuit alleged parties were being held where the participants had been drugged and covertly filmed in compromising acts. It claimed P. Diddy had stashed a number of hidden cameras in his properties in Los Angeles and Miami, which had been used to film the debaucherous parties. The Lil Rod lawsuit reads, quote, "Combs has recordings of several celebrities, music label executives, politicians and athletes engaging in illegal activity. These individuals were recorded without their knowledge and consent," unquote. The lawsuit documents continue to read, quote, "Mr. Combs possesses compromising footage of every person who has attended his freak-off parties and his house parties," unquote. Prior to the information being revealed in the lawsuits, Erica Kennedy, his former fashion designer, had created a collection of notes about these ongoings which she had witnessed around P. Diddy. Erica Kennedy had adapted the notes into a book called Bling, which was about the bizarre lifestyle of a music industry executive. Erica Kennedy had told the New York Times, quote, "I knew I could write a story about a P. Diddy party and show these people what scandal was really all about," unquote. The book used the pseudonym of Lamont Jackson, who Erica Kennedy claimed was P. Diddy in her head, with the character being a record executive who had been forcing female stars to do anything for a chance of fame. Danity Kane was a girl group signed to Bad Boy who were supportive of the Cassie lawsuit. P. Diddy's former bodyguard Gene Dill revealed how P. Diddy had once said he was going to pimp out Danity Kane to all his people within the industry. People believe Erica Kennedy was going to expose what Cassie had gone on to make public in a 2023 lawsuit, which had led to P. Diddy's arrest. Erica Kennedy was found dead in Miami Beach, Florida in 2012 at the age of 42, with the police never publicly announcing the cause of death. The case re-emerged on TikTok in December of 2023, pointing out the similarities with the Cassie lawsuit against P. Diddy. Publications had also appeared which claimed Erica Kennedy's former best friend, Kimora Lee Simmons, had claimed that P. Diddy was allegedly involved in the cover-up of the Erica Kennedy case. Cassie's 2023 lawsuit alleged that Kid Cudi was put on P. Diddy's hit list, with an attempt being carried out on his life which Kid Cudi had escaped. While Cassie and P. Diddy were dating in 2011, Cassie claimed with being tired of the manipulation, she had an affair with Kid Cudi while P. Diddy was away on a trip. Cassie had claimed in the lawsuit documents that when P. Diddy had returned from the trip, he had organised another freak-off in a hotel room, and while there, P. Diddy had gone through Cassie's phone and had found messages between her and Kid Cudi. The lawsuit claimed P. Diddy became enraged and lunged at Cassie with a corkscrew. Cassie claimed to have been able to escape from P. Diddy and fled to Kid Cudi's house. The lawsuit claimed while at Paris Fashion Week in February of 2012, P. Diddy had told Cassie he was going to have someone plant a device in Kid Cudi's car to blow it up. Cassie claimed P. Diddy had taken the claims further and said he was going to make sure Kid Cudi was with his friends when it happened. Kid Cudi's car had exploded in his driveway between 2012 and 2013, and the New York Daily News reached out to Kid Cudi for a statement in 2023 where he had confirmed that his car was blown up before he had gotten a chance to get in it. He had said it was all true. Jonathan Oddi was a man who had claimed his ex-wife Natania Reuben had been a witness to a lawsuit settlement contract between P. Diddy and Oddi which had been made between 2012 and 2017 for Jonathan Oddi to keep quiet about the services which he'd provided to P. Diddy. Jonathan Oddi had been arrested by Miami police in 2018 after he had broken into the Trump Doral National Resort in Florida, where he was then involved in an officer shooting while going on a rant about having a special relationship with P. Diddy. Jonathan Oddi's interrogation video conducted by the Miami police was posted onto YouTube in 2018, where Oddi had claimed he was in a lawsuit with P. Diddy and there were death threats on his life. Jonathan Oddi was a male dancer who provided further services for a website called Dancing Bear, with the services including the additional option for filming to take place. During Oddi's interrogation video, he claimed that P. Diddy had hired him on 15 different occasions in order to provide services for P. Diddy and his then-girlfriend Cassie. Cassie in her lawsuit against P. Diddy had claimed that P. Diddy would make her browse websites for male services, which gives credence to Jonathan Oddi's claims. Oddi had claimed that he has a collection of private videotapes of P. Diddy, which had been filmed from 2014 to 2017, in which P. Diddy is allegedly on tape in compromising circumstances. Oddi had also told Miami police that rapper Rick Ross along with P. Diddy were both compromised in the industry. Jonathan Oddi claimed in the interrogation video that his friend Luis Gonzalez was a witness to Rick Ross allegedly making death threats to Oddi over keeping his mouth shut about the services provided to him and P. Diddy. Lil Rod's lawsuit against P. Diddy may allude that he may have witnessed Rick Ross's signed rapper Meek Mill being compromised at one of P. Diddy's parties, with the lawsuit reading, quote, "He is a Philadelphia rapper who dated Nicki Minaj," unquote. People believe this matches the description of Meek Mill, who was signed by Rick Ross. Oddi in the interrogation video claimed to have carried out the break-in shooting incident for publicity after claiming to have been involved in an unresolved settlement lawsuit with P. Diddy, which Oddi had claimed had been sabotaged by P. Diddy after turning him over to the feds. Oddi had claimed the lawsuit was for a settlement which his wife, being a Miami lawyer by the name of Natania Reuben, was a witness to, which had promised a settlement of $4 million once reached in court, with Oddi claiming the terms and conditions included peaceful enjoyment, which are terms including breach of contract can be applicable if a person is harassed or disturbed at their property. Oddi had claimed the terms were included to ensure safety during the settlement, but had claimed the terms were breached by P. Diddy, who had sent people to his home to make death threats to keep him quiet. Oddi in the interrogation video had claimed that P. Diddy's attorneys, according to him, had followed up by attempting to frame Oddi for extortion, by giving his name over to the feds and saying he was attempting to extort P. Diddy so that the settlement case would disappear. Oddi's interrogation video had resurfaced online in December of 2023, being following the lawsuit filed by Cassie, which correlated with Oddi's claims made to the Miami police 5 years earlier. Unverified reports after the video resurfaced had released an obituary of Jonathan Oddi, claiming to have been found dead in his jail cell shortly after the video had resurfaced, but the reports are not verified. Jonathan Oddi was due in court in January of 2024, however he had been a no-show to court although he is said to be being held within a Miami jail, but the Miami State Attorney had his details listing him as deceased. P. Diddy's former bodyguard Gene Dill has claimed that he believes the death of P. Diddy's ex Kim Porter should be reopened, being in regard to the allegations coming out against P. Diddy. P. Diddy had dated Kim Porter inconsistently from 1994 to 2007, and like P. Diddy's other reported relationships such as Cassie, Kim Porter had also allegedly have been subjected to the same destructive actions at the hands of P. Diddy, with Gene Dill reporting to have seen Kim Porter in the aftermath of those moments. Gene Dill claimed when P. Diddy had allegedly broken Kim Porter's nose on a yacht was after Kim Porter had walked in on P. Diddy and a man doing things she didn't want to see. Kim Porter had been found deceased at the age of 47 inside P. Diddy's California mansion on November 18, 2018. P. Diddy had been captured on the scene by the paparazzi along with Corey Gamble, being the boyfriend of Kris Jenner and manager of Justin Bieber, with Justin now gaining publicity in the P. Diddy investigation. Kim Porter's death certificate listed her death as deferred pending further investigation, until later changed changed to natural causes of pneumonia. Kim Porter's former husband, Albie Shaw, had made an Instagram post in 2020 where he had claimed Kim Porter was murdered and how her cause of death, being lobar pneumonia, was BS. Kim Porter was said to be working on a tell-all book that allegedly contained damaging information about her relationship with P. Diddy, with some speculating that the book may have been a factor in her sudden passing. In July of 2024, RadarOnline.com reported that an anonymous source shared a 40-page document allegedly written by Kim Porter, which had detailed damaging information about P. Diddy. The report claimed that the memoir was found on a flash drive, and further reports claim that laptops, which were believed to have contained manuscripts from the tell-all book, had gone missing from the scene. Kamora Lee Simmons, who is Kim Porter's best friend and had begun to speak out about the theories surrounding Kim Porter's passing, had a fire break out at her house, with online reports claiming how manuscripts from the tell-all book was being safeguarded by one of Kim Porter's confidants, with reports claiming it could have been Kamora Lee Simmons storing them where the fire had started, or that the fire was started in an attempt to silence her. The claims surrounding the case remain speculative. Lil Rod's 2024 lawsuit had recounted in detail an attempted murder which P. Diddy was allegedly involved in, with the lawsuit putting forward evidence of P. Diddy being involved in shooting someone in a recording studio in September of 2022, which had left the victim fighting for their life. Lil Rod claimed P. Diddy was holding a writers and producers camp at Chalice Recording Studio in Los Angeles on September 12, 2022. The lawsuit recounts P. Diddy and his son Justin were with a man named in the lawsuit as Mr. G. The identity of Mr. G remains confidential and is only described as a tall 30-year-old African-American male. Lil Rod claimed P. Diddy, along with his son Justin, had gotten into a heated argument with Mr. G and had taken him into a restroom which was adjacent to the studio. In the lawsuit, Lil Rod recounts being 2 feet away from the restroom door when hearing gunshots ring out. Lil Rod claimed P. Diddy and Justin had exited the restroom to find a crowd gathering outside, to which Mr. G was left on the floor in a fetal position, heavily bleeding from gunshot wounds to the stomach and hip. Lil Rod claimed P. Diddy and his son Justin had disappeared from the scene, while Lil Rod had gone to the assistance of Mr. G and had told the witnesses to call an ambulance. Lil Rod had claimed to have been notified by P. Diddy with strict instructions to tell the police that P. Diddy had nothing to do with the shooting, and had told him to lie and claim it had taken place outside the studio in a drive-by, and that the man had came into the studio for help. The lawsuit submitted a CBS article of the incident as evidence, where the article had claimed the shooting had taken place outside the studio, with the victim having gunshot wounds to the abdomen and an unsolved crime. The lawsuit also submitted photos of the scene which Lil Rod had taken as evidence, however were unable to show the photos here due to the graphic nature. Lil Rod claimed to have several corroborating witnesses who agreed to speak publicly if subpoenaed to name P. Diddy in the shooting. When P. Diddy's homes were raided, guns were found which had their serial numbers scratched off, which may have been used in the crime. With P. Diddy's arrest occurring in September of 2024, federal investigators are now cooperating in 2 cases mentioned in this video, which hold the charges of murder and attempted murder. Under P. Diddy's current racketeering and trafficking charges, he could already be sentenced to upward of 20+ years if found guilty. With investigators now cooperating in open legal cases accusing P. Diddy of murder, we will have to wait and see if there are any more charges added to his current case. Let me know what your thoughts are in the comment section below. Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed the video, smash the thumbs up button. Also, don't forget to subscribe and press that bell button so you can get all the future notifications for when I upload. Once again, thank you so much for watching, and until next time, goodbye.